Hello and welcome to the bathroom demonstration. My name is Stephanie and I'll be presenting today. For our agenda today, we're going to start by designing out our space. I'll create a custom vanity. We'll add in some shelving, create a custom shower and bath platform. Then we'll move on to adding in a water closet. I'll add in some lighting effects. We'll render out our space, review a materials list, and conclude with a plan set. So let's jump into the program and get started. When I open up Chief Architect Premier, I have my Highland floor plan selected. This is an existing floor plan I'll be using to work with today for designing out our bathroom space. We'll add it in here over on the right in this blank area. But I did want to also point out that you can work with a single room. For example, if you need to design out a kitchen, you might not need an existing floor plan or a whole house design. So you can work within the walls of that kitchen and only work within a particular room in the software. So our architectural toolbar, the tools that we're going to be using for designing and building out today are located at the top of our screen. We also have display options over on the right. And then we even have an edit toolbar that appears down in our lower left corner. And this edit toolbar will populate as we continue working with specific objects in the program. We also have efficiency tools available. So if we scroll up to that architectural toolbar, one of these tools is going to be our layer set option. Currently it's set at our default layer set, and layer sets are used to control the layer settings for different views within a plan or layout file. So I'm going to scroll down between my layer set and select my kitchen and bath layer set. And this will help bring forth the layers that are relevant to my bathroom space. Another efficiency tool is our annotation sets. So annotations allow you to switch between collections of saved defaults. Right now we have our 1/4 inch scale dimension default selected, but I can switch over to my NKBA dimension defaults, and this will help with manually drawing dimensions within our plan. So the next thing I want to do is show how to draw walls within our software. We do have different wall options to choose from. If we go up to that architectural toolbar, we can click on our parent tool for our walls. This is our exterior wall tool, and this will drop down different child options to choose from. So we have our exterior wall, we also have an interior wall, and that's the one I want to select now for a bathroom space. And then you can choose from a bunch of different walls as well, and we'll highlight upon a few of these other options as we move forward. So the next wall I'm going to select is my interior wall, and then I'm just going to click within my plan to drag out my wall. And I'm going to add in a few more walls here, and then we'll take a camera view so we can get an idea of what we've created so far. We'll go up to our camera tools and we have different camera options to choose from. These are going to populate the same way with our child options over here on the left side. So I'm going to just grab a full camera, and then I'm just going to click within my plan and drag out this full camera, and this will allow us to see within our space. So just by adding in those additional walls, you can see we have a flooring that has appeared. We also have molding, we have drywall, and then a flat ceiling. We can also work with multiple views within the software. So if I want to work with my plan view as well as my camera view, I can just click on that plan view and then drag it down into place. I'm going to zoom in a little further in my plan. So I'm using a mouse with a scroll wheel, and I'm just clicking to zoom in so we can get a closer view of our bathroom space. And I'm going to dimension out this space now. So we do have different dimensioning tools within Chief Architect. We have our manual dimensioning tools, and then we also have automatic dimensions as well. So the first one that I'm going to grab is going to be my interior dimension, but I do want to show you have manual options to choose from. You can also select your end-to-end, angular, interior dimensions, point to point. You have a baseline and running dimension. We also have centerline dimensions under our manual dimensioning tools, and then we even have our tape measure. So we'll click on that interior dimension, then I'll click within my plan to drag out the interior dimensions that I want here, and you can see they are locating to our wall surface. So what we want to do next is grab the wall that we want to change and then click on the dimension we want to modify. and I'm going to set this at 249 inches, and our software does think in inches, so I don't even have to place that inch marker. I can just hit enter on my keyboard and that will move that wall into place. I'll select the adjacent wall and then the dimension I want to modify here. I'm going to set this at 77 inches, hit enter, and that will adjust as well. And then I have one last dimension to set over here. This will be set at 79 inches. I'll click enter on that keyboard and that will adjust. To remove the dimensions that I have placed to clean up the plan just a bit, I'll go up to my edit toolbar and then I'm going to go down to delete objects. And here's where you can set the delete scope. So right now it's set for a single room. We have multiple areas that we're working with here. So I'm going to click all rooms on this floor and then I'm going to delete my manual dimensions and I want to click delete again to make sure that those are removed. Next I want to label my rooms. So to do this I'll click on my bathroom, tap on my space bar, double click to open up the room, and here we can see that this brings up our room specification dialog. Our room is currently unspecified, but we have different options to choose from and we can even create our own rooms if needed. So I'm going to set this as my master bath and then we'll click OK. And just by changing that room label, you can see that my flooring has updated as well. So this is a laminate that you would typically see in a bath, and the software will automatically make that adjustment. You can set your own default flooring here as well. We'll click back in this room here. I'm going to specify this as my closet. We'll click OK, and then we also have our water closet over here. So I'll just set this as just a plain bath. You can also drop down to our structure panel. Here's where you can adjust the ceiling and floor heights for your room. We'll click OK to see all those labels applied. And then if we get into our plan view and no longer want to display our labels, we can quickly hide those by clicking on the label itself. And then down in our edit toolbar, we have this option to select our object layer properties button. And when we click on this, you can see right now that our room labels are being currently used and displayed. So I'm going to click to deselect display, then click OK, and now our room labels will be removed from our plan view. Next, I'm going to select my camera view by double clicking on it to enlarge this view, and we'll go up to our orbit tool. So I'm going to click on my move camera with mouse and we'll just click to rotate around our plan. I can easily back out of this plan as well by scrolling out with my mouse with my scroll wheel and then panning down. I want to take the floor option that I've used in my bedroom and I'm going to apply it to my bathroom. So I'm going to click to select it and then paste it within the room, and now we have one consecutive flooring that's going to continue from our bedroom into our bathroom. So the next thing we're going to do is design out our custom vanity. I have a vanity that I've created and I'll quickly bring that up so we can take a peek at it. This is the vanity section that I want to add. We'll make two of these so you can see that we use our cabinet tools here. So we'll get back into our plan and access those cabinet tools. Going up to our architectural toolbar, I can click on my cabinet options and I can choose between a base cabinet, a wall cabinet, a full height. We also have soffit options, shelves, partitions. We can create a custom countertop as well as a custom backsplash. And we're actually going to use a good amount of these tools throughout this plan. But we'll start by clicking on that base cabinet. And once I select it, I can just quickly paste it within my plan. And you can see this will be our default base cabinet. I want to make several adjustments here. So I'm going to double click on this base cabinet. This will open up my base cabinet specification dialog. Right now you can see that we're using our standard cabinet option, but you can change it if you wanted an angled front, for example, or a bow front. You can also change the height here. I'm going to keep this set at 36 inches, but I'll click tab on my keyboard. This will drop me down to the width section, and I'm going to modify this to 90 inches. I also want to keep the depth set at 24, so I'm not going to make any more adjustments here. And I'll keep my countertop thickness set at 1.5 inches as well as my overhang at 1 inch. We're going to drop down to our backsplash section, and here I'll change this to 0. I don't need a backsplash on my cabinet at the moment because I'm going to adjust this later with our custom backsplash tool. I'm also going to make sure that my toe kick is set as I need it. So we'll keep the height set at 4 inches, but I am going to change the depth, and this will allow me to customize the bottom section of my cabinet as we move on. So I'm going to close the toe for now, and then we'll drop down to our box construction panel. Here's where you can specify between a framed or frameless cabinet. You can also choose between the type of overlay, if you want a traditional overlay or full overlay or even inset. We'll select inset for our example today. And then you can even choose between the type of cabinet corner treatment you'd like within your plan. So you can specify between rounded, clipped, or none, and we'll keep this selected at none. I'm going to now drop down to my front, sides, and back panel, and here's where we'll make adjustments to the face items of this cabinet. So if I click on my top drawer, I can specify the height here. I'm going to change this to 9 inches. Click tab, we can see the adjustment over here on the right. And then I'm also going to split this item vertically. And now I have 2 drawers. I can do the same with the object below, so I'll click on the item, and then I'm going to change this to a drawer as well. I'll set our item height here to 9 inches, click tab to see that adjustment, and then we'll split this item vertically again. And then I'll click on my blank area below. I'm going to change this to an opening, and then we'll keep the item height set at 9.5 inches. We can now drop down into our door and drawer panel, and here's where I can change the hardware that we're using for our vanity. So I'm going to go down to my drawer handles, and we'll click on our library, and this will open up our library browser. Here you can choose between core catalogs. These are catalogs that come available when you purchase a license within Chief Architect. We also have bonus content that is released on a monthly basis, so if you want to check out our website, you can download different catalogs to use within your plans. We also have manufacturer content, so if you work with any specific cabinet lines or manufacturers, this is where you would access those items. And then we even have a user catalog, and here's where you can add in items that you'll be using within your plan so you can quickly access them without having to navigate through the folders. So the first catalog that I want to open is going to be my bonus catalog, and I'm going to click on cabinet hardware, and I'll select oversized pull, and then I'm going to click between my long pull horizontal, and we'll click OK, and this will add it to our cabinet. And then we can go down to our accessories panel. This is where you can specify if you wanted to add in pilasters or feet to the vanity. We can drop down if you needed to add a molding to your vanity. This is where you would add that in as well. I'm going to drop down to materials, and we're going to make some material adjustments. So right now our cabinet color is selected as Snow White. So I'm going to click on all of the Snow White materials. I'm holding down Control on my keyboard so I can multi-select, and then I'll get into select material, and I'm going to make an adjustment because I want the finished color to reflect a different color within my plan. So we discussed briefly our library folders, but we also have plan materials that we can choose from. So if we've used a particular material within our plan, we can quickly access it. So I've used bone before, and that's what I want my vanity to be. So I'm going to click on that color and click OK, and it will apply to my vanity. I do want to make a few other adjustments while I'm in here, so I'm going to click on my soapstone countertop. I'll click select material. We'll get into our folder here. We can close this up and just click on stone, and here's where I'm going to change to a gray rock stone material. We'll click OK, and I also want to show you can see that material adjust down here to make sure it's the correct material for your plan. I'll click OK, and then I'm going to get into my hardware, hold down Control, select material, and we're going to change the finish here as well. This time I'm going to type in a finish, so I'm going to type in nickel. Click enter, and this will bring up all of our nickel materials to choose from. I'm going to click brushed. We'll see the preview down here. Click OK, and now you can see that our vanity has been adjusted. So let's click OK and see how that looks in our camera view. We can take our vanity and move this down into place by just quickly grabbing it and then adding it down at the end of our plan. Next, I want to add in that custom backsplash, so I'll go up to my cabinet options and click on my custom backsplash tool. I'll click right above the vanity to apply this backsplash, and then I'll double click to open it up. And here's where I can make modifications to the type of material. So we can see right now it's set at a 1/2 inch, and we're using a subway tile. I'm going to click select material. This will drop us back into our library. I'll click to close those folders, and I'm going to get into my user catalog. I'll scroll down and get into my bathroom folder. We'll expand this out, and I'm going to grab a Dell tile material. So this is one of our manufacturers within Chief Architect, and this is a porcelain tile that I'll apply. So we'll click OK. OK, and then you have to click OK one more time to add that material. And now you can see by clicking on our spacebar that that has been added to our plan. I also need to add a sink to my vanity, so we need to open up our library browser again, and I'm going to do this a different way. We'll go up to View and down to Library Browser, and this will populate that library browser. This time I'll get into my user catalog, and we'll go into our bathroom folder, and I'm going to grab my round vessel sink. So I'll just select the sink, and then I'm going to click on that vanity to apply the sink. We also want to make sure that our sink is centered, so I can click to grab the object, and then if we go down to our edit toolbar, we have a center object tool. We can click on that tool, then click over the vanity to make sure that it's centered. So the next thing I want to do is add in some natural lighting, so I'll exit out of my library browser. I'm going to go up to my window tools, and I'm going to click on my standard window option. You do have the option to choose between a bay window, box window. You can even create a bow, a pass-through, or even a wall niche. We'll click on that wall or window, and I'm just going to click on top of my plan here, and we'll double click to open it up, and here's where you can specify the type of window you want to use. Right now our default window is selected, but I'm going to change this to a fixed glass. I'm going to set the width here to 80 inches. Click Tab, and then I'm going to adjust the height as well to 20 inches and click Tab again. And you can see over in our preview that our window has been adjusted. We can drop down and to our options panel, and here's where you're able to specify an interior corner block or exterior, an egress window, tempered glass. Your window can be selected as recessed. We'll keep that option checked for now. And then we can get into our casing panel. So right here on our casing panel, we are going to keep our interior as well as exterior casing selected for this plan. We'll also drop down to lintel, and for the lintel I'm going to keep both of these deselected. You can specify if you want a sill. I only want an exterior sill, so I'm going to click to deselect the interior sill. And then you have the option to get into your sash and frame. We also have a lights panel, and I'm going to add another light across the top of this window, and that's where you can do so. You can add treatments and shutters. Here's where you can specify the framing for our window. Everything else for my window is good to go, so I'm going to click OK for now, and we can see that window has been adjusted. So I can just quickly move my window into place by grabbing it and moving it over my vessel sink, or with the window selected we can also make sure that it's centered by just clicking on top of the window and making sure it's centered within the vanity. Next I want to add in a custom mirror. So I'm going to bring up my image again of that completed vanity, and you can see here is that custom mirror. So we're going to use some objects within the software to create this mirror. So let's jump back into our program, and I'm going to take a different view. We'll go back over to our floor plan, zoom out just a bit over here, And I'm going to get in my orthographic tools. So I'll click on my orthographic option, and then I'm going to click on a wall elevation. So I'll just click and drag this out within my plan, and this will bring up a wall elevation of our wall. So the next object that we need to place is actually going to be a CAD object. We'll go up to our CAD tools. I'm going to click on my circle tools, and we have different options to select from. So we can click and place a standard circle, or the option that I want to choose is circle about the center. So I'll click on that tool. I'll click in the center of my window where I want to place that mirror, and I'm just clicking to drag this out into place. If I want to move it at all, I can grab it and I can move it up just a bit. And then while we're working on designing out this mirror, I'll even drag it down along this wall so we can get a better view of it. We can open up the object here. We need to convert this over to a polyline. So we're going to go down to our edit toolbar, click on convert polyline, and here's where we can specify a polyline solid. We'll click OK. I'm going to change the thickness here to 1/4 of an inch, and you can also adjust the materials through our material panel. So I'll click on this material and I'm going to change it to a mirror. So we'll get into our options. I'll actually type in mirror here, and this will bring up our mirrored glass. I'll click OK to apply it, and OK again. And now I'm going to make a copy of this object. So we have a tool down in the edit toolbar. It's copy and paste in place, and then we'll open the object. So I'm going to go to my open object door to open it up. We'll set the thickness here to 1/2 an inch, and then we're going to change the material. So this is going to be the backing of our mirror. So we'll select the material, and I'm going to type in black for a black finish on the back side of our mirror. We'll click OK and OK again, and that will apply it to the back side of the mirror. Next, I'll click on my floor plan view, and then I'm also going to drag down my full camera. And this will show that our backing is actually showing up on the front side. So we need to make a few adjustments here. So I'm going to zoom in over here in my plan view. We need to get in really close so we can see those two layers. And I'm going to grab my mirror and pull it out just a bit. This is the back side of the mirror. And then I'll grab the front side of the mirror and bring it forward. So I'm just going to click and bring it in the opposite direction, and then I'll pull back my backing, and then I'm going to use my point-to-point tool. So I'll go and select the mirrored option, and then I'm going to click down in my edit toolbar to grab that point-to-point, and I'll click on the point that I want to use and then the point I want to move it to, and this will move it directly into place. To view our reflections, we're going to need to click on our camera view. We'll go up to 3D and down to camera view options, and here's where we can toggle on our reflections, and this will allow us to see that mirror in detail. So the next thing we're going to do is get back into our elevation view, and I'm going to zoom in here. We'll go up to our circled options as well. I'm going to click to grab a circle tool. I'm going to click and just drag that out within my plan, pull it up into place. I'm going to convert to a polyline solid, click OK. I'm going to set the thickness here to 2 inches, change the material. This time I'll change it to a brushed nickel material. We'll click OK and OK again to apply it. And then I'm going to make a copy of this, so we'll copy and paste it in place, and then I'll pull this directly down into place, and that has been applied. We're going to click back on our floor plan view, and we'll zoom out of here. I'm going to group select these items, and we'll zoom back out, and now I can move my mirror directly in place over my vanity. And we can just double check that all of that lines up by clicking on that center object tool and center it directly over the sink. We spent a good amount of time designing this vanity, so I want to save this to my library. So we'll go back up to our elevation, and then we're going to group select these items. So I'm going to click to grab that backsplash, and then you can click to apply the other items that we want to group together. And down in our edit toolbar, we can make this an architectural block. This will group select those items and add them together as one unit, and then I can add them to my library. And I can rename this to my vanity. We'll click enter, and then I'll move this back up into my folder. And now I can access this again and use it in the future. So I'll exit out of my wall elevation. I'm going to apply my vanity to the other side of my wall here. And then we'll move this down into place by just clicking on it. Now I'm going to exit out of my library browser. And I'm going to click on my camera view and we'll orbit around our camera view just a bit. So we're just going to pull this down and then we can rotate around so we can get a better view of this wall. And I'm going to get back over here into my plan view. I'll make a copy of the window that we're working with and just place it in our plan. And then if we need to dimension this window, I can click on the window and then set the dimension here. So I'm going to set this at 3 feet 3 inches. I'll click enter and that'll bump that window into place. I now want to work on adding in some shelving options. So we're going to take another elevation view. This will help with placing objects. I'll click on my wall elevation tool, click within my plan to drag out that wall elevation, and we can work with a couple different views again. So we'll go back up to our cabinet tools. I'm going to click on my shelving option, and then I'll just click in my plan here to apply that shelf. I'm going to click Control E to open up my shelf. And here's where I'm going to make some changes. So I'm going to keep the height set at 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to set the width here to 146 inches. I'll click Tab on my keyboard and I'll keep the depth set at 12 inches. Here's where I'm going to change my dimension though. From the finished floor to top, I want this set at 18 inches. I'll click Tab and we can click OK and we'll take a look at how this has been adjusted. We need to center our shelf in the room, so I'm going to take my center object tool and just click on the window and we'll center that to our window. Here is where we're going to make a few copies. So we have a tool down in our edit toolbar where we can multiple copy. So I'll get into my multiple copy tool. I'm going to set this at 18 inches apart. So we're going to click OK and I'm going to click in sticky mode. Then I'll just pull these shelves up into place. I need to make this shelf smaller over here on the left side, and then I can copy it and reflect it on the other side of our window. And next I need to get into my library browser again, so Control L on my keyboard will open that up. And here's where I'm going to add in some corbels. So I'll select the corbel, and then I'm going to click within my plan to place a corbel. I'll need to zoom in a bit, or we can just even click on that elevation view to open it up a little bigger. We'll grab the corbel, pull it up into place right under that shelf. I'm going to make a copy of it, and then I'll paste it again. And then I can select the corbel. We'll just pull it over just a bit, hold down Control, copy, reflect it on the other side of the window. And then I'm going to grab the other two corbels. We're going to multi-select again. We'll multiple copy it, click OK, and make sure we're in sticky mode. And we'll pull these up into place 18 inches apart. And now we have all our corbels added. We can even add accessories to our shelves. So the first object I want to place is going to be our basket. So I'm going to get out of just working in our elevation view. We'll get into our floor camera. And then we can place our baskets in our camera view. So I'll just click to place it. And this is where working with multiple views is very helpful. So you can see right now our baskets are floating. So I need to click on that basket. I'll open up the dialog here and I'm going to make sure that it is set at 0 so that it's right on our ground level. And then we can even get into our floor plan view here, tapping on that space bar, and I can just pull back that basket into place. With it selected, I'm going to also multiple copy, and this time I'm going to evenly distribute my basket. I want to make 5 copies. I'll click OK, and then I can just pull these directly into place on my shelves. And now that's been adjusted. To save us a little bit of time, I've created an architectural block for the rest of my items that I want to place on our shelves. So I'll grab that now, and I'll just click in my plan view, and then I'm going to grab that architectural block, hold down Control on my keyboard, and I can pull these directly into place on my shelves. We can click in our camera view to enlarge this view. I can exit out of my library browser for now, and I can see that some of my materials need to be updated. So I'm going to go up to my material eyedropper, and I'm just going to grab that bone that we added to our vanity and apply it to my shelf. Before I do though, I wanted to point out that we do have different modes for pasting materials in our lower left corner. Right now component mode is selected, so if I used that option for pasting, it would just paste on a particular item. So for example, if I clicked on one of the shelves, I can paste it in component mode. An example for a good use for component mode would be if we wanted to update maybe just a drawer in a cabinet, we can click on that and it won't update the entire cabinet, just that drawer. If you clicked on object mode though, that entire cabinet, for example, would update, and that is the second option over to the right. We also have the option to paste in room mode, which I'll do now, and that will update all of the same material within that room. So now you can see all of my shelves have been updated with that new color. If you used floor mode, this is good if you had cabinets maybe in a bathroom and also a kitchen. You can get everything updated, that same material, all within that floor. And then we also have plan mode, so if we had multiple floors that needed materials adjusted, that would be a good application for using that mode as well. So with our shelving unit complete, we're going to rotate around our plan, and we'll move on to adding in a doorway. I'll go up to my door options. Here we can select between a hinge door, a doorway, a sliding door, a pocket door, a bifold door, or even a garage door. I'll grab our doorway, and then I'm just going to click to place it within our plan. And then we can move over just a little further, and here's where I'm going to add in our custom glass shower. So now I can exit out of my elevation view. We don't need that anymore. And I'm going to click over to my plan view. We'll zoom in to our bathroom, and here's where I want to add in walls for our shower. So we'll go up to our wall options. I'm going to select add a pony wall. I'll just click within our plan to drag out these walls, and then we'll dimension them. So we'll go up to our dimensioning tools. I'll click on my interior dimensions, and then I'll just drag this dimension across and then grab another dimension to pull to that other wall. I'll click on the wall that I want to change, then the dimension. This dimension I'm going to set at 67 inches, click enter, and then I'll set the other wall at 47 inches and enter. Now to clean up the dimensions that we've placed, there's another way we can do this. We'll click on our dimensioning tool, then I'll hold down shift and just marquee around our new shower and click delete, and that will remove those dimensions. Next I want to open up my walls, so I'm going to click on my spacebar, grab one of the walls, hold down control, click Control E on the keyboard to open up my dialog. I'm going to drop down to my wall type option, and here I'm going to change my wall type. So we're going to switch this over to a glass shower, and then we'll drop down to our pony wall, and we actually need to create a new wall type. So I'm going to change our wall to an interior 6 wall. We'll click define, and here's where we can make a few adjustments. So I'm going to make a copy of our existing wall. We're going to change the name here. We'll add in shower, and then I'm going to drop down to our texture layer. I have a tile that I want to use, so I'll type in ash and see if we can find that tile, and then we can quickly scroll and navigate to find the material I want to use. We'll click OK here, And then I'm going to do the same thing for our second layer. So that second drywall layer, we're going to switch that over to ash as well. So we'll double click. I'll need to type in ash again. And I'll grab that material, click OK. And now you can see that we have a different material applied. So we'll click OK. And that has been adjusted. I want to drop down to where we align the wall. And right now we have our pony wall aligned at the main layer outside. And I'm going to switch this over to wall center. So I just click over and we can see that it's going to adjust our wall. And then as far as our display in our plan view, I want to make sure that I'm seeing both our upper as well as our lower wall outline. So I'm going to switch over to this option as well. We have a new feature available within Chief Architect X10, and that's our wall cap option. So I'm going to show you how we can add a wall cap by clicking on the panel, and then we're going to click Add New. We'll get into our architectural folder, and we're going to grab a molding. I'll just select my first option here, and then we can make some adjustments. The first thing I want to do is change the width. I'm going to set this at 6.5 inches. And then we can click tab, we can see that adjustment. I'm also going to drop down to our horizontal offset and change this to -3.25 inch. And we can click tab and we can see that that will pull the cap back into place. You can also make changes to your wall covering, rail style. There's a lot of control over other panels if you needed to. We're just going to drop down into materials, and then I'm going to switch that molding to our bone color. So we'll get into plan materials, and I'm going to scroll up to color and click on bone, and then I'll click OK, and we can see that adjustment. I'll click OK, and then we're going to jump down into our full camera view so we can see that our wall has been added. We can rotate around here and get a better idea of what's going on with our shower. So we can see once we place the shower that we have molding that has appeared around the room. I do want to remove this molding, so the way I can do this is by tapping on my space bar. I'll click within my room, and we're going to change our room to a molding polyline. So down in our edit toolbar, I'll click on this tool, then I'll click OK, and now I have the option to remove molding from particular edges within this room. So I'm going to click to remove the molding here, and then I'll also remove it over on that other selected edge. Tap on my spacebar and we can see that adjustment. I also need to add in a door. So to do this, I'll go up to my door options. I'll click to add in a hinge door within the shower, and then click to apply it. And I can see there's going to be several changes that need to happen here to get this shower where I want it. So this door, I'm going to double click to open it up so we can make those modifications now. The first thing I need to do is change the door style. So I'll go to my drop down. I'll change it to a glass slab. We can drop down into options, and here's where you have the ability to make changes to the door units. You can also change where it's being displayed, so if it's automatic or show the top edge, or you can even hide the edge. You can also show a door open or closed. Right now it's selected as closed. If we clicked over to open, you can see that in our preview over here that it would open. I'm going to move back to closed for now. You can also have our shower swing from both directions, and I'm going to do that for now, and then I'm going to change this for safety to tempered glass. We can drop down into casings. I'm going to remove the interior casing. Then as far as the other options, I'm going to slide just down to hardware. I want to make a hardware adjustment. We'll get into our library. So for our handle, I'm going to get into my architectural folder down to hardware, door hardware commercial, and I'm going to change this to a pull handle. We'll click OK, and then I'll make the same adjustment for the other side of our door. And pull handle, we'll click OK. And now to see the adjustment, we'll click OK within our dialog, and you can see that our door has been adjusted. We have a quick tool down in our edit toolbar that we can flip our hinge side. So I'm going to do that now so it's a little easier accessible within our shower. And we can scroll in just a bit further and you can see that the inside of our shower has molding, and then we need to make some more adjustments here. So what I'm going to do is bring down my floor plan view and I'll zoom in to our shower. I'm going to click on my spacebar over here, double click to open this up, and we can make some changes. I'm going to drop down to my moldings panel. I'm going to remove the floor default. We'll click delete and that'll remove that molding from the inside of our shower. Then we'll drop down into materials and I'm going to change our flooring. So we'll click select material, and I have a particular floor in mind, so I'll just type that in now. Click on that flooring, click OK, and OK again to accept the changes. And now you can see the molding has been removed and we have a new flooring that's been applied. I also want to highlight there's different ways for adjusting materials. So we can even get into the shower and I'll grab my material painter and we are going to select a particular material from our user folder. We'll click OK. And then I can just click within my room to apply it. So we still have our room scope selected, and now that tile has been applied along our shower, and we can zoom back out of here. And now our shower is getting a little bit more complete. There are a few changes though that I did want to make to the door while I'm in this view. I can see that if we're over in our plan view, the scope on this door is quite large, so we're going to close that radius just a bit by just pulling in that door. And then I also want to open it up, so I'm going to click Control E. We're going to drop down into materials and I'm going to grab the material bone as well as bright, go to select material, and we're going to change this to glass. I'll click OK, and then we also need to update our hardware. So all the aluminum components are going to get adjusted to our nickel finish to match the other fixtures in our bathroom. I'll click OK and OK again, and now we can see that adjustment. I now want to get into my library, so I'll click Control L on my keyboard, and then I'm going to drop down and grab my faucet, and then I'll click within my plan to place the faucet, and then I'm going to open it up, so we'll go Control E on that keyboard again, and here's where we're going to change the finished floor to top. I'll set this at 84 inches, and then we'll click OK, and that has been added. I also want to add in a wall niche, so I'm going to go up to my window tools, click down on my niche option, and then I'll just click within my plan to place it. Double click to open up this niche, and here's where I'm going to change the width to 24 inches. Click Tab on the keyboard and I'll adjust the height to 36 inches, and then we need to also drop down into our materials panel. We'll change our drywall option. We need to close up that folder, and instead of getting into my bonus catalog, I'll get into my user catalog, and we'll use the same tile we used throughout the shower. And now that has been adjusted. I also want to add in a drain. So this time I'm going to navigate my folder. I'll type in drain and see what we have available within our library. I'll just grab our first option here and then just click to place it within our plan. And then I'm also going to select that faucet and just make sure it's centered within the room and the drain. Next, I want to click on my camera view so we can rotate around our space and get a better idea of where we're going to be placing our bathtub. I'll also click on my plan view and we'll go up to our polyline solid tool, and this will allow us to create a tub platform. So I'm just going to click and pull this into place. I'll open this up, click Control E on our keyboard, and I'm going to set our thickness at 20 inches. I'll set our finished floor to bottom to 0. Click Tab. This will raise that platform up 20 inches. And here's where we can add our bathtub. So we'll clear out this drain. This will drop us back into our user folder, and I'll grab that bathtub and I'm going to click to place it within our plan, and then I'm also going to center it. So we want to center it in our space, and then we'll also add in our faucet. So we have our bath faucet here. I'll click to apply it, and then we also need to use another polyline solid to open up that bathtub. So I'm just going to click on top of that, click Control E on the keyboard. We're going to set the thickness to 20 and then place a hole right in that bathtub, and this will open up our bathtub. I need to make a material adjustment, so I'm going to click in my 3D view. I'll use my material eyedropper and then paste it on that bathtub platform, and now you can see that that has been adjusted. So I'll click to open up my camera just a bit further, and I'm going to rotate around so we can get a better idea of our space here. And I'll go up to my cabinet tools. I'm going to click on a custom backsplash tool, and I'm just going to drag my custom backsplash out into place. So I'll click to apply that material on that back wall, and then I'll double click to open it up, and here's where I can edit the type of material that I want to use. And I'm going to keep this consistent with the other material that we have on our back wall. So I'll get into my user folder, into bathroom, and then we'll select that Dell tile again. Click OK and OK again, and now you can see that it has been updated. I can also get in here and use a custom backsplash for another feature. So I want to show you how we can also create canvas art, for example. So I'll just click and drag this out, and I'm going to change the material, and here's where I'll get into my user catalog again, and I have some wall art that I want to apply. I need to change the thickness here. We'll set this at 2 for a nice thicker canvas, and we'll click OK, and now you can see that has been adjusted. So this is going to conclude the design portion of our bathroom. So I'll exit out of this view. This will drop us back into our plan view. I do want to add a few more features in our water closet, so I'll go up to my door options. I'll select to grab a hinge door and place it within my plan. And then I'm also going to grab a toilet. So I can get into, instead of my bonus catalog, I'll get into my core content, and then we'll get into fixtures, toilets, and there should be a standard toilet here. We'll just click to drag that and place it within our plan, and that will finish off that water closet. So the next item that I want to jump into is going to be our lighting options within the software. So I'll exit out of our library browser, and our electrical tools are located on our default toolbar. So we can grab different options within the plan. We have our outlets, we also have lights, switches, we can auto place outlets, and we can connect our electrical. I'm going to jump over to our electrical layer set. This will make it easier when we do place our electrical items. And then we'll grab a light, and I can click within my plan to place it. I want to turn on my electrical layer, and then I'm going to use my multiple copy tool. So we'll come down to the bottom of our screen in our edit toolbar, and I'll make 3 more copies of this light. We'll click OK, and then I'll just click and drag that light out into place. And then I'll grab another electrical light up here, and I'll place a copy here as well as here, one over our bath and one recessed light in our shower. I also want to add in a few pendant lights, so I'll open up my library again by hitting Control L and getting into my user catalog. And here's where I'll grab that pendant, and I'll place one here, and then I can make a copy of that. So we'll just copy and reflect it on the other side of the sink, and hold down Control, and then we'll make a copy and reflect it within the room, and that will place those lights. I also want to make sure that we add in some switches, so we'll go up and grab our switches, and then I can place a switch over on that adjacent wall as well. We can zoom in here just a bit further, and then we'll connect our electrical. So I'm just going to grab these lights, we'll connect them to that switch. And then I'll grab my pendant lights and we can connect them over here to that switch. I do want to point out that you can change where these connections are locating. So if we don't want them to overlap, you can get in here and make those modifications to really clean up your electrical plan. We can also place our outlets by clicking up here and then clicking to where we want to place those. And you can see that since it's recognizing it's a vanity, it's automatically placing those GFCI outlets above our sink area. So it's very helpful to use those when designing as well. So I'm going to jump back into my kitchen and bath layer set. This will clean up our plan again. And then I will exit out of our library browser. And I want to show you some rendering techniques. So I'll go up to my camera option and then I'll just click to drag out a camera view of our plan. Here is where we can show some of our rendering options within the software. So I'll go up to my rendering techniques. Right now we're in a standard render. We want to get in and turn our reflections on as well, though. That'll be helpful to have our reflections turned on. Right now, like I said, we have the standard render. We can choose between a vector view. We can also switch between a glass house, a dual tone option. We have the option to select a technical illustration. We even have painting options, so if you want to choose a painting or even a watercolor, here's where you can do so. You have the option to select a line drawing, and a new render available within Chief Architect X10 is our physically based render option. If you needed to make any adjustments to our render, you can double click, and here's where you can change the camera exposure. You also have the option to change the type of glass, and then you can go down to our color adjustment option where you can modify the hue, saturation, and brightness of that render. We still have the ability to ray trace within Chief Architect X10. You can launch your assistant. If you have the time to run through a ray trace, you can go through our wizard and it'll walk you through the process, and you can also get a nice crisp image. Before we wrap up today, I want to highlight two more features within Chief Architect. The first is our materials list. So to access our materials list, we'll go up to our Tools drop-down menu. I'll scroll down to Materials List. And here I can calculate a materials list for all floors or for a particular room. I'll select all floors. This will populate my materials list for my entire plan. You can see we have different categories to choose from. We also have where manufacturer content has been applied. So we did work with many different manufacturers today within our plan. That Dell tile, and that has populated. We also have a Benjamin Moore paint, and you can see that's updated here as well. You can update pricing for your materials list, and that will update the total cost of your plan. Materials lists can be exported, so we do have different material list options for export. This list can be exported as a TXT file, a CSV, an XML, or even an HTML. I'll click cancel. I'm going to exit out of this view. We're not going to save it. And the last feature I want to highlight is the ability to create layout sheets. So we can go to File, down to New Layout, or you can even open up a layout. We'll open a layout. I have an 11 by 17 that I want to work with. When I get into my layout, you can see we have different ways to navigate pages. So we'll drop down to page 0, and here's where you can update your entire title block. So if you needed to change the name of your plan, for example, you can do so here and it'll update your layout sheets. We can send different views to layout. So if we go back to our camera view, for example, to send this to our layout sheet, we'll go to File, down to Send to Layout, and this will bring up our Send to Layout dialog. Here is where you can specify the page you want to send it to. So we'll send it to page 1. You also have different send options. And then if you drop down to our camera view options, right now we have our live view selected, and this can update on demand or always update. So if we make changes, this will update our layout sheets. We'll click OK, and we can see now that our camera view has been sent to our layout sheet, and you can move it around and set the scale if you needed to modify this as well. We'll get back into our floor plan view. I'm going to take an orthographic view. We'll take a wall elevation. We'll send an elevation to our layout sheet. I'll zoom out of here. We can go up to our automatic dimensioning tools. I'll click on our NKBA dimensions, and then we can send this view to our layout sheet by going to File, Send to Layout. I'm going to set this page to page 2, and then you can also set the scale. So right now we have it set at 1/4 of an inch. I'll set this at 1/2 inch equals a foot. We'll click OK, and now this view has also been sent to page 2 of our layout. So this is going to conclude our presentation for today. I want to thank you all for attending. I did work in Chief Architect Premiere, though most of the tools I used today are also available in Chief Architect Interiors. Both programs can be purchased in full, or you can also rent each of those for $199 a month. The only difference between the two as far as the rental would be the rental term. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our sales department. We're more than happy to assist you, and you can wrap up typing in any questions through our chat system. Thanks again for attending, and we hope to see you at another Chief Architect demonstration in the future. Have a great day.